Hi there, and welcome back for our next term in AP US history. We're looking at taxation without representation as part of APUSH Unit 3. So here's your basic definition. A political slogan of the American colonists in the 1760s in the wake of new British economic policies. So, what you need to know for historical context is that this slogan is going to come around pretty quickly after the 7 Years' War, also known as the French and Indian War. So, in this French and Indian War, we see that as a result of the Treaty of Paris, France is no longer going to have territory in North America. But this is going to cause a huge amount of debt for the British Empire. And so they are going to end their previous lax attitude called salutary neglect towards their economic policies. They had the Navigation Acts to enforce trade restrictions. However, they weren't really enforcing them, which allowed for the colonists to have a lot of freedom in their economic decisions. Additionally, there's conflict with American Indians, and the British will pass what's called the Proclamation of 1763 to prohibit American migration to the West. You should also be familiar with some basic colonial characteristics. There is some post-war prosperity that occurs after the French and Indian War, and that about 60% of the colonies were under age 21. This is really significant because you can think about how a young person might react to a revolutionary movement compared to someone who is more set in their ways, or someone who might be more established in their business. business and less likely to take risks. So let's get into it. What we see happening in the 1760s and 70s are a series of parliamentary acts. Some of these are economic in nature, and what they're aiming to do is to restrict the colonies in order to benefit Britain. And the colonists have a huge issue with this. Now, you don't need to be familiar with every single one of these acts, but you should know a few of them. But the colonist reaction, that's what's the most important part here. How are they reacting to these stricter enforcement that they are not used to? Well, there's going to be basic resentment and calls for no taxation without representation. Now, it's not no taxation, period. It's without representation. And so they begin to form political groups such as the Stamp Act Congress, the First and Second Continental Congress, and these groups are trying to organize colonial responses. And as they go over time, they move from trying to restore the relationship to Britain to, by the Second Continental Congress, asking for independence or declaring independence. There's also the formation of protest groups. The ones that are most commonly known are the Sons and Daughters of Liberty and the Committees of Correspondence. Both of these groups are trying to, again, promote colonial unity in protesting British policies and also exchanging information about what the British were doing. Boycotts are highly effective at the time, so they do not purchase British goods. And then there's some direct opposition. Maybe you've heard of the Boston Tea Party or the ban on trade that happens as part of the Second Continental Congress. So, what is the significance of no taxation without representation? Well, it inspires colonial unity during this revolutionary movement. It also spreads political ideas. And so there's a lot of pamphlets and published materials that are going around with these ideas in it, along with other political ideas. And so Americans become much more well-versed in the language of politics and what they hope to have. And all of this begins to develop an American identity, which was the catalyst for the Revolutionary War. I hope this video is really helpful for you in understanding no taxation without representation. And if so, please like and subscribe.